today. It just depended on where we were and how much they didn't like us that time.
Now, I know you've told the story before, and is there some sensitivity in telling the story again? I will defer to you entirely on this.
There is a little sensitivity. I mean, it's a moment in time that I don't like to remember. It doesn't benefit me to really remember.
I understand. So as best I can, I'll kind of take us through this. It was night, full moon, bright moonlight, and you and your men more or less walking in a straight line and are confronted with what I now know to be an L-shaped ambush. What is an L-shaped ambush?
An L-shaped ambush is basically, an ambush is a trap. Basically, we walked into a trap, and they set up on one side, so they engaged us from, like, our left side. And when they engaged us, we all returned fire, and we focused on the left. And then straight ahead where we were walking, which is now our right side, then they shot down that way and came in that way. So then we were being engaged from two separate fronts at anywhere between 10 to 30 meters away.
And this is a classic infantry strategy, as you know it? And you also were supported, you had helicopters flying above you, but the skirmish was so close that they couldn't determine, they just couldn't be indiscriminate about helping at that point, right?
Correct.
Yeah. The leader of your patrol wanders in or walks in or is injured, shot. You retrieve him and notice that two other of your men are now being taken by the Taliban. Is that roughly what happened?
The lead team leader, which is Sergeant Joshua Brennan, and he was shot in the initial contact, as was Specialist Eckroad was shot in the contact. Sergeant Gallardo, who was in front of me, was shot in the helmet in the initial contact. I was shot in the front part of my plate. Casey and Clary were taking rounds through all their rucksacks and stuff. And we all worked to link up because it was so close and the fire was so intense that Casey and Clary, Casey had the M249 machine gun, so he basically had a machine gun that shot the most bullets in the shortest amount of time. So he was shooting as much as he could, and Clary had the M203, which shot the grenades, so he was lobbing grenades. And Sergeant Gallardo, when he got hit in the helmet, I ran to grab him and bring him back, and then we all consolidated, grabbed grenades, and started throwing grenades and moving forward so we could link up with Specialist Eckroad and Sergeant Brennan.
And how far away, when you talk about the close combat, was it, I don't know, 50 yards, 50 feet, 100 yards? How far away was it?
15 meters, maybe 30 meters, anywhere. I mean, you could throw a baseball. You could see, the way they set it up was good on them because they set up where they had cover, and where we were walking, we didn't have the cover.
Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, you're able to go after, there was two Taliban that had two of your buddies, is that correct?
Had one.
Had one at this point. And you did what you needed to do to get them to, you got their attention, and then they dropped your friend, and you were able to bring him back.
I didn't go up there to save Sergeant Josh Brennan. I didn't know anything was happening. I ran up there because he was the only person we haven't seen yet. And when I ran up there, there was two Taliban dragging him away.
Right.
And I just kept on running and shooting, and I just charged in. I killed one of them, and the other one ran off the side of the cliff face. And by the time I was at Josh, I just grabbed onto him. My magazine was empty. I just grabbed him by his body armor and just took off running backwards with him so we could get out of the position we were at.
How long did this all last?
You know, I mean, I can't even guess. If I had to guess, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 lifetimes. Time has passed me.
When in a situation like this, is it you? Is it training and you? Is it adrenaline and you? Is it your friends? What lever did you select to get this done?
None of it is me. I think training plays a big role in it because we train how we fight. This wasn't the first time we've been shot at. It was the most intense fire we've taken from the closest area. But everything we do in the military, you don't do it for yourself. You do it to the person to the left of you, to the person to the right of you. And as long as you have them on your left and right, you're not going to fail them because they won't fail you. And whatever has to happen will happen because we're going to do it together.
I've heard you say, and I believe this to be true, that this award is not you, it's for everybody out there. Anybody could win this award, and your behavior is absolute representation of the behavior of your fellow soldiers, men and women serving anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. I'm an average guy. I'm one of the boys. When we go back, I'm just one of the guys. I'm nothing special. We all do everything we can when it's our time to do it.
Yeah. What was the time like after the attack? Did you get out of there without any further skirmishes? Or what happened? The helicopters then came in and helped prevail, helped with the rescue. Is that what happened?
They came and picked up the bodies because we also lost Specialist Hugo Mendoza, who was the platoon medic, Sergeant Josh Brennan, and we had a couple other wounded that needed to be medevaced out. And then we divvied up their equipment, and we still had about an hour-and-a-half walk before we got back to the Krongal outpost. And no one really knew exactly what totally happened. We only knew what little pieces we were part of.
What is a person like after that experience? You said you still had an hour's walk to go. You get back, I mean, you're not the same guy that you were an hour earlier, are you?
You don't have the time to think about that because you still have a job to do. You're not safe. Just because they're not shooting at you at that moment doesn't make things safe. So you have to stay vigilant. You have to stay on your toes. You're still scanning. You're still looking, and you're moving until you get back. And then when you do get back, you know, you got to go see a medic. Usually you see a medic, and they, just because you could be all hopped up on adrenaline, and they kind of pat you down, make sure you're not shot anywhere, and then talk with your friends, you know, talk like...
I'm guessing, not guessing, I know for a fact you have to be in some measure of shock to have lived and performed under this situation. The body has to go into a bit of shock, right?
I think so much of it goes back to training, because people train this in basic training. You just never hope you get caught in it, because it's never going to turn out good for you. And that night we stayed up fairly late, but we'd already been out for 5 days. We were probably getting about 3 hours of sleep for 5 days, and it was always an hour at a time. So you're physically beat.
Yeah, yeah. And then how long after that were you taken out of Afghanistan and went back to Italy or wherever you went?
We stayed there for another 10 months.
Another 10 months?
Another 10 months.
Good Lord. All right, we'll be right back here with Staff Sergeant Salvatore.
Be sure to catch tomorrow's Late Show with Dave's guests Taylor Swift and Seth Meyers. This Thanksgiving, join the Late Show in supporting the World Food Program. Visit WFP.org or the Late Show website to make a donation that will help fight world hunger. Thank you.
So now, you, at some point, you are notified that you're going to be receiving a call from the President of the United States. Is that essentially what happened?
They gave me kind of a 24-hour notice that I'd be receiving a phone call.
Yeah, and what does that do? Do you think, oh boy, the President? Or, I mean, I'd be scared. I wouldn't know what to do. Did you know what to do?
No. I received the call, and the first thing he said, don't tell anyone. Okay?
Yeah.
So I told my wife.
Uh-oh.